Hey, it's Captain Roger. Let's go for a walk. Today, we're walking into a story about people walking with God by walking around a city. Specifically, the army assembled to invade the Promised Land is going to walk around Jericho. Now, the Lord sends them towards Jericho, but the city is sealed up like a turtle in a shell. No one's coming out, and no one can get in. And to this, God says, hey, look, I packaged them up for you. Then he has Joshua set up kind of a creepy parade. At the front, there are 7 guys with trumpets, playing them in one long, loud note. Then comes the ark, that big gold box we've talked about before. And behind them, the whole of the army. Tens of thousands of armed men. And God has them parade around the city one time, maintaining complete silence. So the folks inside of Jericho, expecting war cries and futile attacks from slings and arrows, were instead treated to the sound of trumpets and an uncountable number of feet marching in perfect unison. Stamp, 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 stamp. And all around the city. And then they just go back to their camp. And a night passed. And then, silently, except for the trumpets, they assembled. And they went around again. Stamp, 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 stamp. And then back to camp. And the next day, they did it again. And the day after that. And so on. For 6 days. And then on the 7th day, they walked around the city 7 times. And then stopped. And at Joshua's command, shouted. And then the walls fell down. And the army surged in, and they killed every man, woman, child, and animal. Except for Rahab and all those she had in her house. Now, what a weird and affecting story. Can you imagine what it must have been like to be a soldier in that army? At first it seemed like your whole job was just to walk silently with God, marching around the city. Just you and thousands and thousands of your closest friends, staying as quiet as you could, never speaking. Like I said, creepy. And that shout must have been a release of sorts after a week of quiet, almost a reward. And the payoff for these guys, of course, was the destruction of the city. Walking with God caused the city of his people's enemies to collapse. What can we take from this that will help us in our own walk with God? Well, how about the sense that we should trust in God? Because even when he leads us in ways we never expected to go, he keeps his promises. Secondly, faith is the gateway to salvation. Rahab, she gave herself to God and trusted in the promises made to her. And so she and her family and all their stuff were saved. And third, and finally, pay attention to the things that God is doing around you. Have you ever wondered what the purpose of walking around the city in silence for 6 days was? I can tell you, it was opportunity. It was the chance for every person in that city to turn themselves and their lives over to God, to relinquish their false gods, their self-centered pride, and begin to walk with God instead. I, for one, wish that they had. How much greater would this story have been if it had ended with all the people streaming out of that city to join the march as they all dedicated themselves to becoming the people of God, just like Rahab. Let's walk with that for today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Grace and peace to you.